everybody. Welcome back to Spider Sound Off.
This is episode 6. I'm Porter.
And I'm Tom.
And we are Richmond Spider fans, season ticket holders, dishing on all things Richmond hoops.
And today we're going to focus on Richmond's women's basketball team.
I'm excited for today's episode, Tom. I think it's going to be great.
Now, Porter, when you moved back to Richmond a year and a half ago and decided to get season tickets and join me with the men's team, I don't think you expected to fall in love with the ladies program.
Absolutely. I have some available time. And so I said, what the heck? Let's get a season ticket to the ladies. They were really good the year before. I liked what Coach Roussel was doing. I had seen box scores and occasional snippets of games, but hadn't really experienced it. So I bought season tickets, showed up by myself to the first game, sat pretty close to the floor in one of those padded seats down low, which, we don't sit in during the men's game, and was just blown away right from the start.
And as most of you probably know, the season ended with our first ever NCAA tournament win for the women's program. I think it was our 5th time in the NCAA tournament, but our first win ever.
Not just a win, but a complete dismantling of Georgia Tech. I mean, we destroyed Georgia Tech from the beginning of that game till the end. And Georgia Tech was a good ACC program.
Yep. And we had other big wins last year too, right, Porter?
Yeah, we did. Just to give you guys a few, I mean, I went up to the Henrico Sports Center to watch us play Columbia. Columbia was a top 50 team. They were number 42, I think, at the end of the year. Played them on a neutral court, beat them pretty handily. I think it was like 8 or 9 points. But what we found out later was Columbia, Gino Auriemma admitted, was the one team that beat the national champions UConn in a secret scrimmage before the season. So that was a legit win for us.
Or not so secret scrimmage.
Not so secret scrimmage after you admit it, right?
And we were in pretty much every game outside of, I guess, Tennessee. Blew us out.
Tennessee was the one game where it got away from us, and we just didn't look like we were there.
And then the UCLA game, we had a third quarter we'd like to redo if we could.
Yeah, we were tied at halftime with the overall number 1 team in America, UCLA. Lauren Betts, their 6'7" center, playing them toe to toe. Had a bad third quarter, but other than that, I mean, I thought we represented ourselves extremely well. Probably my favorite game last year was Fairfield. Fairfield's one of those mid-conference teams that we played on their home court, and they were bringing back 91% of their scoring from the year before, where they were really, really good. And we went up to Fairfield and absolutely dismantled them in that game. I think we were up 32-7 at halftime, and that was just the sign. That was early in the season, and I was after seeing that, I was watching it on TV. I was like, okay, we're going to be really, really good this year.
And we ended up 28-7. So just put that in perspective, almost 30 wins. For our women's team.
It was
pretty amazing.
I mean, it wasn't a perfect season by any means. I mean, there was a couple areas where we could improve on.
I mean, I think if you watched our team, like, we run with that ball. It's very fast up and down the court. And so watching those games, there's plenty of times where you'd see a bad turnover. So I think that's one area where it's a little bit kind of the way we play. But we averaged over 14 turnovers a game. So I think the 14 plus turnovers a game is something we can improve on. Also not the greatest rebounding team, and we out-rebounded our opponents. We're 33 to 34 rebounds a game. So I think that's a place where I think we can hope where we improve on that this year.
And we talked to Coach Radice. That was kind of fun. And she emphasized that was one thing she thinks we're going to be better at this coming year was the rebounding.
So let's talk about our conversation with Coach. We have not been able to see any practices yet. So a caveat to everything we talk about. So this is all based on our conversation with the associate head coach.
And our experience watching them.
And our experience watching the team and video reviews of some of the folks who haven't played for us yet. But we did sit down, have a great conversation with Coach. She was really fun to talk to. She is a Hall of Fame player from Fordham.
Yeah, one of our games last year, we played at Fordham, and I was watching it on my computer. We actually lost the game, which goes down as a bad loss for us. But before the game started, there was about a 10-minute segment where the Fordham announcers were just in absolute awe of Coach Radice. They just talked about her career in a way that I kind of got an appreciation. She was Fordham's Pam Bryant.
Yeah, she was a scoring point guard. I think her total points was over 2,400 over her 4 years. But she went from being a Hall of Fame player to now almost 40 years of coaching experience. Most of those years were at Delaware. But thankfully for us, she caught on with Coach Russell
up at Bucknell.
up at Bucknell,
2017.
and then when he came, brought her and that whole staff. But she was great to talk to. She's got experience in scheduling, recruiting, lots of different topics. So as we start talking about the team, we'll add in there some of the comments we got from Coach.
To get ready for our interview with her, we watched some old interviews she had given. I mean, we talked a lot about winning. I mean, this lady is a winner. Just listening to her talk. I mean, I remember one interview she was talking about, they were talking about player development, and she was talking about when she was a player, she would shoot 500 shots a day. And I think it got up to like she had to make 500 a day before she would stop. So when the game came around, she was almost more surprised when a shot didn't go in than when it did go in. So we're in good hands with Coach Russell, Coach Radice, and the rest of the staff.
Now, when you think to the team we've got coming back this year, it's got to start with the 3 returning starters, Maggie, Rachel, and Allie.
And it starts with Maggie Dugan. Maggie is the reigning Atlantic 10 Player of the Year and is the best player, as I've said on a previous podcast, in the state of Virginia.
Yeah, and she is fun to watch. You put her in kind of the wing forward bucket, but she can handle the ball. She can shoot the 3. She loves driving. When she's one-on-one, she will drive. She also led the team with assists last year. And so when they try to guard her, she's looking for someone cutting to the basket. So she's a multi-dimensional talent for us.
Coach Radice called the system read and react, and you can see the chemistry that exists between Maggie, Rachel, and Allie. It seems like Maggie anticipates when Rachel's going to make a move to the basket and hits her in stride with passes time and time again. It's just really fun to watch. But I got a story nobody's ever heard about Maggie, including Maggie. So I'm going to break it. So I was in Vegas, as we talked about on a previous podcast. We go with a bunch of Richmond alum friends, lifelong friends, and every year new people join us that just want to go to Vegas to watch basketball. And in this last year, we were interested, Richmond fans, in the women's games, whereas most people in Vegas at that time are watching the men's tournament. We actually turned one of the big TVs on to the Richmond women's game. And it was the Georgia Tech game, and I was sitting next to a guy who was also interested in women's basketball. And turns out this gentleman worked for a WNBA team. He was one of the analytics leads for a WNBA team. And I told him to keep an eye on Maggie Dugan, who's going to be playing against Georgia Tech. And he honestly had not heard of her. He looked her up. He had a dashboard that he had built he had his PC open. And he pulled her up, and it was the best way I can describe the dashboard is it's like a series of boxes and different skills and different things that teams care about. And the dashboard went completely green. There were shades of green, some light green, some dark green, but it was all green. And he just looked at it for a second. He's like, "Holy cow, she's really, really good." And then he put his chin into his hand like he was the thinking man for a little bit, and he just stared at the screen, took his finger, circled the whole dashboard, and said, "Yeah, that's really, really good." So, I mean, this is a guy whose job it is to identify talent, sitting there looking at a dashboard with our player saying, "This is really, really good." So I think we have a potential WNBA player in our ranks with Maggie Dugan.
Like everyone else listening, I was not there, so I'm going to assume it wasn't just some drunk person next to
No,
you.
I have a witness to the conversation, and I actually called the witness and said, "Did I recount this right?" And he agreed.
It wasn't someone at the craps table.
I don't have permission from the actually WNBA person themselves to tell this story. So I'm not going to tell you the team they work for or any of that stuff or why they were in Vegas during March Madness. But I will tell you that, that was a conversation that happened.
Now, I know last episode we talked some about Rachel and kind of her summer and a lot of the great things she got to do. But what do you like best about Rachel when you watched her play?
I mean, I think with Rachel, she was first team All-Atlantic 10. She was the 6th player of the year before that, which leads me to the question, with Maggie and Rachel both being first team All-Atlantic 10 players coming back. I think we did it last year with Addie and Maggie, but I can't remember. But it's maybe only a couple times in history that's happened where we've had probably two preseason A10 first teamers. Because I got to imagine both of them are going to be preseason A10 first team on the same team coming back. But with Rachel, it's the 3-point shot. I mean, she is the best pure 3-point shooter I've seen as a Richmond Spider. She's not a 3-point shooter off the dribble, like say a Caitlin Clark would be. She's more like if her feet are set, she's going to drain it, and she can drain it from well beyond the 3-point arc too, which is kind of cool. But if you give her a foot, she's gonna knock it down, and that is such a thing that causes stress for the defense because you have to stretch the defense constantly to defend against that.
Yeah, she had 82 threes last year. For you stat nerds out there, shot over 42% from three. Actually, not the strongest on our team.
Yeah.
From a percentage standpoint, and it takes us to Allie Sweeney. She shot 44%.
Yeah, at one point in time, Allie was leading the nation in 3-point percentage, and I think they flashed that stat, maybe 51, 52%, and then I think she had like a game where it just she maybe that stat got into her head for a second. But I mean, the thing about Allie is, I mean, she's not really talked about much because of the two, most likely Hall of Famers for Richmond when they hang up their shoes. But with Allie, she is actually coming into her own as a great Richmond Spider player. I mean, she had to be the floor general last year. This year, I think she's going to be called on to do a lot more.
As a sophomore, started pretty much every game.
Yeah.
Played 25 plus minutes per game. So she's coming in really experienced as a junior. And it'll be the second time leading this team with the ball.
And I think this year you'll see Allie step up and take a more prominent scoring role. We lost a lot off this last year's team. We'll talk about that here in a second. But I think Allie's going to be called on to score more, and I think you'll see her step up and do that quite capably, along with being one of the best in the Atlantic 10 at assist to turnover ratio. So we call them the Big Three. They played in a 3-on-3 tournament along with Samantha Dewey this summer. They represented themselves very, very well. But for all you folks thinking about season tickets, you got 2 Hall of Famers. If Maggie were, and it's a big if, but if she were to win A10 Player of the Year again, she would only become the second player in either men's or women's program history to do that. We had to look it up. Johnny Newman never did it. He came up against a guy named David Robinson 3 times, but he did win it once. But your pick for best point guard won it.
Pam
Bryant twice.
Yeah, so she's, I think, the only one we can find who's won 2 Player of the Year conference awards. So Spider basketball player.
So you as a fan, if you get tickets this year and go and watch a game, are going to be treated to watching 2 Hall of Famers and most likely somebody who's going to have their number hanging in the rafters. And that's just a special treat to have that kind of quality on the floor that you get to witness. So get your tickets, guys. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I think there's a testament to that they all came back. I mean, I don't think the women's game has evolved as much as the men's game in terms of how many people are in the portal and how many people are moving, but there's certainly a lot going on. And the fact that all 3 came back with coach shows their commitment to getting back to the NCAAs and getting farther. Now, we did lose a lot.
Yeah, 49% of our minutes are gone. Anna Camden, 6'3", nice interior rotational player for us, is gone. Faith Austin, the backup point guard when she got healthy last year, to Allie, is gone. She averaged close to 18 points a game for App State the year before. Hall of Famer Addie Budnick is gone. Future Hall of Famer, I should say. She was her own legend in Richmond women's basketball lore. Alyssa Jimenez, who was really a lockdown defender. I mean, she got better and better as the season went on for us. I went back and watched that Texas game, and she didn't play in that Texas game. Booker, their forward, went off for 25 points.
I think she was hurt. I do think.
Yeah, I think she was hurt, but like that, she would have been the person probably guarding Booker if she were playing. That I think we're going to miss a lot. Who's going to be our lockdown defender on this team?
And don't forget Katie Hill.
Yeah,
she averaged 25 minutes a game, helped you everywhere on the court.
Yeah,
she was a critical starter.
And the thing we asked Coach Radice, so with Katie Hill, she's 6 feet. Alyssa Jimenez was 6 feet. Budnick was over 6 feet. Camden was over 6 feet. Steph Oderkirk, who's also gone, was over 6 feet. They asked Coach Radice, are you intentionally recruiting length at all the forward and guard positions? And what did she say?
It was certainly something they looked at. I mean, they wanted tall. They couldn't always get tall.
Right.
They found that to be important on the defensive side as much as on the offensive side, having tall players who could get in the way of passes, who could guard, and there's a lot of switching in our defense. From what Coach said, they don't expect the point guard and the center to do as much switching, but the other 3 players need to be able to guard everybody else on the court.
Yep.
So having tall players that are interchangeable from a height perspective, that's an important part.
Sometimes our girl's going to
Our
get
team.
beat, and when you get beat and you go around somebody, it helps when somebody else comes over who's also 6 feet or higher, 5'11" or higher, whatever that length number is, because it creates havoc. And I think that really played itself out. If you go back and watch that Fairfield game, like our ladies' arms are in the passing lanes constantly, tipping passes, creating problems for smaller teams with their length. So,
Now, when we talked to Coach, the question was like, who do you see as the top returners to fill that gap? So before we get into transfers and freshmen, which we will talk about, who did she see? And 3 names came out. And Porter, why don't you give us a little?
Yeah, she started with Alicia Newell. I mean, Newell was the point guard before Faith Austin got healthy. Alicia was a freshman playing back up to Allie, and I mean, we started the season 8 or 9 or 10-0, something like that last year. And Alicia played in all those games, and she played a little bit like a freshman at times, but like you didn't feel like we lost a ton when she came in, compared to Allie. I think she's a little taller than Allie. She has a little bit of a different style. And Coach said she had some things that she was going to work on in the offseason, and she looks really good coming back. Like she worked on them, and she's looking like she could be a big contributor this year.
Yeah, it was interesting. So the 2 things that it sounded like she'd been working on. One is her 3-point shot. So I think that's one we didn't really see last year. She wasn't expected to do that, but that'll be exciting if she can add that. And then the second part was just understanding the offense and defense better.
Right.
I think when I love the way Coach put it, where if you put like one person on the floor with 4 people who know exactly what they're supposed to do, that one person can almost, fake it, even if they don't know, because you got 4 people all going to the right spot.
Right.
But that didn't mean that she was fully comfortable out there and knew everything she needed to do. So just a year under the offense and defense strategy, I think she knows where she needs to be a lot more and will be kind of an important part of
Yeah, it'll be
team.
interesting. We didn't ask Coach if she's gonna run some sets with both Alicia and Allie on the floor at the same time, but that could be an interesting. If Alicia's 3-point shooting is really improved, you could see some of that this year, because that would be definitely a wrinkle I haven't thought of.
That's right. And another name she brought up, which was interesting to me because we didn't see much of her last year, was Peyton Richard. She's a 6-foot wing. She played some last year. She had big game against Gardner Webb. Is that right?
I think it was Gardner Webb. She had 10 points in the game last year. She's got a really nice looking shot. And I think you've got 2 or 3 players in front of you that are, like we said, we've talked about future Hall of Famers. You're learning from them, but you're also challenged by them to get minutes. And you're probably capable of starting for a lot of teams across, different programs throughout the country.
So she's definitely someone that we'll get to see a lot more of this year. Coach has been really happy with what she's been able to do this summer. And then the last of that group was
Samantha Dewey.
Yeah, Samantha Dewey. We did see her more towards the end of last year. It seems she started getting kind of more rotation. She was at Illinois, transferred. So last year was her first year at U of R. So she had a lot to learn as well. She was part of that 3-on-3 tournament this summer, right?
Yeah, she played with Rachel, Allie, and Maggie. She played in that 3-on-3 tournament. They acquitted themselves very, very well. They lost to the eventual champion of that tournament, but they're playing some of the best three-person teams on some of the best college teams around. So very competitive, which tells us the core of our team is right up there with the top teams.
Now, going beyond those players, we have a couple other returners. We have a redshirt freshman. We don't really know a lot about Annika Manthe. So she's a 6'3". So, there's an opportunity certainly on our team to help fill in some of that center power forward spot.
Yeah, the front court rotation is going to be really interesting.
And then Jada Green's another returner. She's redshirt senior. She missed her first 2 years from injury.
Yep.
She was part of the Maggie Rachel recruiting class, but she was hurt, missed her first 2 years, played a little bit last year. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what she can do. Now, getting past the returners, one of the things that Coach mentioned is that she's expecting to be a better rebounding team, and I think that starts with the transfers.
Yeah, we got 2 pretty interesting transfers in the transfer portal this year. We got Skyla Travis, came out of Louisiana, and who's 6'3". She plays a physical inside presence. I joked with Coach Radice it would have been fun to have a strong 6'3" player to try to keep Lauren Betts off the low block. And Coach Radice corrected me and said, "You're not going to keep Lauren Betts off the low block.
Right.
She's the best player in the country," which was a fair point. But like we need that person inside that can really scrap and get the rebounds. Skyla, she didn't play a ton of minutes compared to her talent level down in Louisiana. I thought looking at some of the game box scores and watching a little video, she led that team in BPM, which we talked about is an advanced stat for efficiency. She had 13 points and 15 rebounds in the last game Louisiana played last year, which is the tournament loss to Marshall. She did that in 21 minutes. So 13 points, 15 rebounds in 21 minutes. So she's a player. I think she's probably more of your true five in this offense, where she's just going to bang around the inside, making sure that we clean up the glass. But then there's another transfer that we got out of St. Louis, Tiara Simon.
Yeah, and Coach Radice was definitely excited about what Tiara Simon can do. So she's 6'1", so she's a forward. She can do a lot. She scored a bunch against us last year.
I remember at that game, I turned to the guy sitting next to me, maybe it was you at that game, and I said, I forgot her number, but I said, that number's a problem for us, so we can't stop her.
She was a starter. She almost averaged a double-double. She was she was at 8.8 points and 8.9 rebounds, so close to that double-double.
Yeah.
Also averaged a block per game, so defense is going to be great. She'll be a great addition to that. She could also shoot the three, so that's something that Coach mentioned. So it'll be really exciting to see what she's able to do when it comes to filling in outside of the big three.
Yeah, I think, she's a good inside and outside player, which fits in with that Maggie, Rachel mentality of being able to move anywhere, take any shot, read and react. I think with her, it's going to be getting comfortable in the system. I think Simon has a chance of doing that if she can get comfortable in the system.
Okay, well, let's transition to the freshmen. We have 4 freshmen who were kind of heavily recruited that all committed and are all here. One of the things, before we get into their names, I love the image in my head from Coach Radice, is that when you have a bunch of new players on the court learning our system, she said early on, it's like bumper cars. So they're all trying to be where they're supposed to be, but they're running into each other. I think what she called it like 5 out. So when they're getting a rebound, like all 5 are kind of running down the court. And when you have our big 3, they know exactly where to be, and they're leading this team and teaching the freshmen and the transfers with the coaches this new system. But you can imagine like a first practice where there's been some installation of, hey, this is how you do things. And then the freshmen starting to run into players. But we've had a good summer. I don't think there were bumper cars anymore, but I think that was some of what early practice might have looked like.
And in fairness, Coach Radice did not call attention to any one of the freshmen. I think one of the things we want to do for getting too deep, although I know you probably will have a hot take here and there, is to get over and watch a practice so we can give you guys a firsthand report of what we see. Like, okay, this person is ready right now, or maybe this person's a little ways off. But let's go through the freshmen, who they are and where they came from.
I'm going to start with my favorite, which is Shanika Campbell. She's 6'2" forward from the Bronx. I think all of these ladies have recruiting videos out there. They're putting out videos, whether they're trying to get on a different AAU team or for college recruiting purposes. Her video is super impressive. She is the type of player who is, blocking shots, then dribbling the ball down the court, and then making layups or shooting a 20-foot jumper. Mm-hmm. And her shot looks great. I think she's going to be a great player for us at some point.
Yeah, I like the way she moved off the ball when I watched a little bit of that videotape. She moves really well when she doesn't have the ball in her hands. She's quicker than somebody that size should be. I thought her mid-range shot looks really good. Interesting to see if that can extend beyond the three-point arc.
She's certainly an impressive player, big-time rebounder, defensive player who can also score. I think she's kind of like our Bryson on the women's team, someone with super potential. I can imagine at practice at some point she could give Maggie fits just because of her size and her shot blocking ability. Now, Porter, since you are clearly better than me at pronouncing names, I want you to talk about Ava and pronounce Ava's last name.
Ava Persichetti?
That's
pretty
well
good.
Done.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's right.
Every now and again, it's like that's how you debate, Tom. That's how you debate.
Yeah. So she's a 5'9" shooting guard.
Out of Pennsylvania?
And a big time score. Like she broke her school's all-time scoring record with over 2,400 points by the end of her senior year.
Yeah,
so.
we kind of talked to Coach Radice about, like, you got 2 guards, 2 forwards, and she kind of corrected us, and she said, no, we kind of think of it as 1 guard, 3 forwards. So I'm guessing they see Persichetti as a forward.
Yeah, kind of a wing player in that system.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 other freshmen, one local, Rain Wright. She's from Midlothian. I went to Manchester High School and led that team to a championship. She's another wing player for us.
I got to imagine we're going to have some Rain Wright family and friends watching games in the Robbins Center, being that she's local. If the coaching staff went after her, they got a lot of eyes that could watch her play games. So I'm pretty certain they like what they saw.
And then the last freshman is Anisha Scott. She's a point guard from Minnesota. We've got 2 really good point guards already in our rotation. Again, we haven't seen her play, but it'll be interesting to see if Anisha can get critical minutes this season to help her development to be future point guard for us.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting for sure. I mean, I think we lost a lot of depth last year. So like we said, 49% of our minutes are gone. We have the big 3, but last year the strength of that team, I thought, was the depth, right? We had a rotation that you felt confident going 9 or 10 deep. Who are the players after the big 3 for us this year that are going to step up and become really, really talented players? That's going to help define the season for us. I think depth is going to be good. I just don't know if it'll be as good as last year, but on the high end, the confidence of the top 3 and the leadership that they embody should carry us quite far.
So let's wrap this thing up and make some crazy predictions. Again, we haven't seen practice. We've seen videos. Obviously, we've seen the players from last year. But to your point, Porter, there are 2 openings who's getting lots of minutes. We had 5 players last year who got over 25 minutes per game. So we've lost a couple of them. And there's different ways you can slice minutes.
Right.
But what's the group of players? We don't need to predict who those 2 starters are going to be, but what are the group of players that you think are potentially going to be able to be that key 20-plus minute?
I mean, I think for me, if Simon can learn the movement and flow of the offense, she should be an impact player because she fits so well the type of player that we recruit and that we go after. So I think she could be a big time contributor this year. I think the rotation inside will be very interesting to watch this year. I mean, Skyla Travis is a very strong, big player for us. Samantha Dewey is also a physical player inside. So
and Samantha has a year on them in our system.
Correct.
Right? So I think it's also, and we talked about this on the men's side. It wouldn't surprise me if Samantha is a critical part earlier in the season as these newer players learn, and then they can start sharing that position more.
Yeah,
kind of late.
I mean, I think that if we're going to have to. I mean, Addie Budnick is not replaceable, right? She's just too good. But if we can bring it to close, not going to quite get there, but if we can bring it to close, and you see incremental moves forward out of Allie, which I think we will at the point guard position, and Rachel and Maggie go out and do their all A10 first team things again, it could be a very, very good season.
Adding to that, we talked about Alicia and Peyton earlier. There's an opportunity and a question in our heads. Can Alicia and Allie play together in the backcourt and put significant minutes together? We know they could, but does that end up being a core part of our success, is having 2 point guards out there, and maybe Allie becomes a little more of a shooting guard when Alicia is out there to fill in the points we need.
I think against smaller teams we could go with that. I think against the larger teams, because we've got some pretty big games scheduled this year. I mean, we don't have a ton of scheduling news to break, but we play Texas again, and they're going to be a top 10 team in America. We play them at Texas. You're going to want the length around the perimeter for those types of games. So I would imagine you won't see that there, but you might see it against some of the smaller teams that we schedule early on.
Right. And that's where Peyton becomes really interesting. So we just haven't seen her much, but Coach brought her name up. We didn't reach for it. She brought up Peyton as been someone she can see filling in those,
getting more confident.
Those missed minutes that we
could
took.
Be interesting. Yep.
And then off the bench, I think this is where Porter referenced earlier. I may have some hot takes. We're going to need more than a couple starters doing 25 minutes, and we know out of that group we just mentioned, Alicia, Samantha, Peyton, and Simon, that we're going to have 2 starters and let's say 2 folks off the bench, but we need a deeper bench than that. I do love Shanika as being someone with that potential. Again, haven't seen her at practice, just seen old videos, but I think she can be a difference maker for our team if she can develop over this year. I think defensively she'll be a menace, and she won't shy on the offensive side.
And if you're right, and she becomes a major contributor, and you called that without any input from anybody other than watching high school recruiting videos, I think you might get a call from the coaching staff for future recruiting endeavors, Tom.
Sure.
So
now we do know, I mean, there's going to be a lot of surprises. So even if we had seen a practice, I mean, if you heard our men's episode, we're still making guesses from one practice. We haven't even seen a practice yet. We will later and give some updates from that. It's fun where you've got 3 players that you really can count on, and they'll hopefully be better than last year, but 3 players you can count on. And then there's some surprises that's going to happen, which is always fun. And we'll know a lot more a month into the season. But right now it's 3 superstars, and then let's see what happens.
We asked Coach Radice about what the big 3 bring off the court that hasn't been described. And she said, I give her some quotes now, their work ethic is outstanding. They're very, very competitive. They're in the gym. They're good leaders. They lead by example. It rubs off on the newer players. So when you have the kind of talent that we have at the top end of the team and everybody else sees that and they see the leadership, it creates a chemistry. And chemistry is a word that I think we probably should talk just for a second about. It starts with chemistry, because you can have the best player in the world, but if the chemistry's off, then the team won't live up to its potential.
And I did like what Coach said, that the success we had last year doesn't change the goal. They had the goal to go to the NCAA tournament and win in the NCAA tournament last year. So that's great to hear. They're shooting for goals that are big. And so a year ago, we've never had an NCAA tournament win, but that was the goal. That's the goal now. Win the conference, get to the NCAAs, and win in the NCAAs.
Yes. You went toe-to-toe with Texas, who was a top 5 team in the country, lost by 11. Again, we were out without one of our best defenders in that game. You were tied or leading 3 of the 4 quarters against the best team in the country, UCLA, right? 1 bad quarter where the 3-point shot went cold. If you remember us, we missed every 3-point shot if seemingly we took that quarter.
And their team, which was not good from 3, made all of them.
Yes, they lit up for that quarter. So you went toe-to-toe with 2 of the best in the country. I think it was Alabama. We had them on the ropes with 2 minutes to play. Should have won that game. We played the best teams in the country last year. We beat Georgia Tech by 26 points. Maggie went for 30 and 15 or something ridiculous like that. This team knows it can play the best teams in America right now. And I think that confidence is what makes it so exciting. Now, again, chemistry, 3 people don't make a team. You got to get the whole team working together. But if we do that, and the fans turn out, I'll keep beating that horse, guys. We just have to turn out and support them. Let's make the Robins Center loud as can be when those folks come in and play us. Like, give those girls the advantage they deserve, that they've earned. You get a chance to watch 2 Hall of Famers and potentially what could be one of maybe the best player to ever wear a Richmond uniform in her senior season. So.
And if you're in Richmond, you're in for an additional treat too. We did learn, while Coach Radice doesn't do scheduling as part of her role these days, we do have a Henrico holiday tournament. Which will be up at the same facility where the A10 tournament was.
Yeah, and I went to a bunch of games up there last year. It's a great venue for basketball. It's 15 minutes to get to by car, and it's just a great venue to get to and watch our ladies play.
So it'll be exciting to learn more about the schedule over the next month or 2. But anyway, appreciate all you guys listening to us again. If you got into this point of the podcast, you're certainly a dedicated Spider, and we appreciate it. Please tell your friends, subscribe, do all of that stuff.
Share us, especially so if you have friends in Richmond that have daughters that could come out and watch games, send this podcast to them so they can hear about this team. I'll say one last thing before we wrap this up. Maggie and Rachel, after each game, they usually get interviewed by the press. They sit in the stands waiting for those interviews, and they sign autographs for young girls. Talk about a way to meet a future legend and have your daughter inspired. Like, bring your girls out to watch this team. Bring your friends out. This team deserves it.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. This is Tom saying see you later.
See you, folks.